Hi everyone, I'm going to give you a demonstration about how to use Census at School to look at a sample and use that sample to make some graphs to see what's happening in the group of people who did the census at school. So the first thing that we're going to do is go up to the address bar and go to censusatschool.org.nz. And it's going to take us to a website which lots of people have seen before because lots of people here did the census at school. You've taken part. So when we get a sample by clicking on the green button, Explore the Data, when we get a sample of students, you could be one of the people that we are looking at. We're going to click on Get a Random Sample. So this is going to get a group of people who answered the census at school. We're going to use the New Zealand 2015 database. And I thought it might be interesting. Let's look at just Year 9 students. So let's get rid of all of those other ones. Because after all, we've got a class of Year 9 students. Okay, and we're not going to go for a total sample size. We're going to get 100 Year 9 students. And then click on Get My Sample. So, not much changes there, but now we can analyze our sample, and we're going to do that by clicking on the iNZight light. That's this funny countdown thing. And then we click on this link. But when you do this, because you haven't used this piece of software before, it might ask you to prove that you're not a robot before you get to this point. Okay, so we're going to visualize our data. Up in the middle here, you can see the Visualize menu. So you click on Visualize. And here's where we can get a graph. It comes up with our first graph already. So our graph has a title, and it says gender, females and males. On the left-hand side is the label proportion. So we can see in our sample of 100 Year 9s, just over 60% were females and just under 40% were males. So actually in our sample, we've randomly picked some people and we don't have 50-50 mix of males and females. Okay, so what could we do? Well, we could put a good title on this. So we're going to go to the advanced options and click on Show. And then over here in the advanced options, if you tick that box, we have a little menu bar here, or menu options, and we could customize the labels. So we could give it a title, Girls and Boys, for example, and our x-axis label. Well, I don't like that it's a lowercase g, so I'm going to put gender and submit it. And so, there we go. I have a title and a new label here. Now, the graph of the proportions of how many males and females in our sample isn't very exciting. So what you have to do is go through, and there are heaps of things that you could find out. So over here on the left-hand side, well actually first of all, let's just get rid of those advanced options, so all we see is the graph. And then we can look at our variable. So rather than looking at genders, maybe we could look at what ages people are. This is a dot plot. It's got 100 people on it, and it says most people were 13 years old, and a few people were 12, and a few people were 14. Let's keep going down here. What about the next one? Country. This is a bar chart that tells us which country people are from. Notice that we have to rechange the title now. Gender and girls and boys is no longer the title. So I wonder if maybe you don't change the title until you've finished doing your exploration and decided on what graphs you're going to have. Okay, so keep going down the list. This tells us that it's about people's ethnicity. And if you look at your data sheet, you'll be able to see that just over 35% of people said no, they're not New Zealand European, and just over 60% said yes, they are New Zealand European. Okay, and there are different ethnicities there that you could look at. Oh, let's have a look at languages. This is how many people speak, or how many languages people speak. One person on this graph says they speak 9 languages. I wonder if that's true or not. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is go through and see if you can find an interesting graph. There are heaps of variables to look at. Cyberbully gender. You need to find out what cyberbully gender is about, and this might be an interesting graph. Okay, so I'm going to scroll back up and look at gender again. It's not interesting, but maybe we want to compare things for 2 different genders. We could compare, if we scroll down here, the handedness of different genders. And it comes up with a little key on the right hand side. So for females, what's the most common handedness? And for males, what's the most common handedness? I don't know why the bars are different sizes like that. And that's something I'm going to have to find out. We're going to have to find out. Okay, we could compare, what about, it's not very exciting, but we could look at the heights of different genders. So males and females, and we get a dot plot and we can see each person, how high they were and whether they're a male or a female. We could also explore a relationship question, such as, if we come down here, we could do height and arm span. Where are we going to find arm span? Here it is here. And just explore that graph. Do we think there's a relationship between height of a person and arm span of a person? Maybe you do or don't know what a scatter graph is about, but we'll learn about it during the rest of this term anyway. Okay, so by now you know how to use the variable options and how to get up a range of different graphs. And that's what this video is about. Let's just go back and see if we can customize the titles. Aha, and by going back to customize, it automatically gives us that auto title and label again. Okay, so have fun exploring iNZight and looking for interesting things in the data that you have.